Hey everybody, in today's video we're going to be talking about how the golden child creates a narcissist, and why does the golden child become a narcissist? You know, if you're in a family dynamic, there's a scapegoat child, you could say, and there's the golden child. And why does one lead to narcissism? And the common thing that is also associated with this golden child is entitlement. So we're going to be diving into that, and also talking about why entitlement is actually a state of powerlessness and why it comes about. So that's what we're going to be diving into, and hopefully it'll help you guys really understand the subject, and it could help you in your life if you're dealing with somebody that is maybe a golden child, or if you have been a golden child of your own and maybe you're trying to understand these types of situations more. We're going to be diving into that in today's video. So if you like the content, consider hitting subscribe and supporting me as a creator by the end of the video. And for those of you that don't know me, my name is Chris, and on this channel we just talk about mostly, I guess, psychology stuff. This is like my online thoughts journal where I'm just putting everything out there for you guys. With that being said, let's go ahead and dive into the content. The way that I'm going to start this off is really talking about looking at this from the broader picture. See, the problem that I have when people talk about these types of subjects is that they are always looking at like the surface symptoms, and they are judging the surface symptoms without looking and reading in between the lines. Now, the surface symptoms do say something and they mean something, but a lot of the times it's not the cause of the wound. It's not what's actually going on. So with that being said, let's go ahead and dive straight into the family dynamics of the scapegoat child and the golden child, and talk about why they come about. And then we're going to dive into the entitlement section towards the end of the video, so that we can form this complete, clear picture. If you've dealt with somebody like this, you know, it'll make a lot more sense. So the scapegoat child, who do you have? You essentially have a child that is, you know, trying to be themselves, and they are acting in certain ways. They're just, you know, going about living their life, and, you know, their parents maybe are not okay with them doing certain things, or they tell them certain things, and you're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed to do that. Why are you being like this? And I can say, not in all of my family dynamics, but I do feel that, like, at least in my life, during certain sections with my family that lives in another country, when we would go and visit them, my brother was more of the scapegoat child in the family, and I was actually more of the golden child in the family. So I actually feel that I can understand this dynamic very well. So the dynamic was that my brother was more of the scapegoat child, and really everything that he did was wrong, and, like, you know, his head was up in the clouds, and it was always like making him feel like he shouldn't be who he actually was. And looking at that dynamic, essentially what happened, and by the way, my brother's not a narcissist, I'm just, you know, understanding the dynamic. Essentially, you have somebody that then becomes afraid to be themselves, and they cannot be authentic, and they have a difficult time. For some of you that have heard some of my other stories on my brother is gay, but he didn't come out as gay as being told, you know, 25 years old, or, you know, just a few years ago, after I had found out factually that he was gay, and then, you know, confronted him about it. So he didn't, and part of that was because he did not feel safe, you know, growing up in childhood, to be able to express who he actually was. So looking at that situation, you have somebody that doesn't feel safe to be who they are, so that they are not adapting. They are not adapting to the family, that dynamic, and they are sort of rebelling and being, you know, the scapegoat child, because they're not adapting, so they're getting judged for it anyway. Then on the flip side, you have the golden child, and this is actually something that I could understand quite well, because looking at that situation, I could see all of the things that he would get in trouble for, and I wouldn't do those things. I would actually purposely not do those things so that I wouldn't get in trouble. And I got, you know, honestly, in those situations, when I was with that side of the family, I got treated very well. And, you know, it was really, it felt really nice and whatnot, but I could say that when it's taken to an extreme, what I really understand and actually feel for these people is that you at the same time do not actually feel safe to be yourself either. Because the golden child, you have one child that is getting criticized for everything that they do, that is getting judged by the parent, and the parent is telling them not to be who they are. And then you have the other child that is then trying to adapt by also not being who they are. because they know that if they piss off the parent, they're going to get bad treatment. So instead of actually allowing themselves to be themselves, if it is a genuine, authentic expression of themselves, then sure, but sometimes it's possible that in childhood, these people do not allow themselves to be themselves. And therefore, by adapting, they come across off as the golden child. But the subconscious, when you're reading between the lines, what you're actually seeing is that there's somebody in there that does not feel safe being themselves either. Which leads us to narcissism, and how narcissism is developed as a lack of self-esteem. And a lack of self-esteem coming from narcissism makes you feel like you're alone, like you're an island unto yourself. It makes you feel that you have to take care of yourself and nobody else is there to take care of you. Everybody's, you're living in a shark world that everybody has to fend for themselves. And that's because you don't feel safe being yourself. So you have to hide who you are and you have to be inauthentic to try to fit in, and you get more rewards for it. So it makes it even more difficult sometimes for these people to understand. But the subconscious agreement this whole time is still that you are not allowed to be yourself. And that is actually how the golden child is created in these situations, and how this golden child can actually develop narcissism. It all comes from a rejection of self. So if you have a family dynamic where the family is not accepting these children for who they truly are on the inside, then you get these situations where this narcissism is now being created within both of these types of children. So now with that being said, let's go ahead and look at entitlement. And I'll make another video on this at another time going really into detail about it. But really, if you look at entitlement, what are you looking at? If you're looking at the scapegoat child, let's start with this one, you're going to look at someone that maybe does not feel safe asking for what they want because they feel powerless to get what they want, and they also don't even have the courage to ask for it. This is a state of powerlessness. Yet on the other side, you have entitlement, and you're saying, somebody says, hey, I deserve this, and you're almost like looking at them like, why do you even think you deserve that if you haven't earned it? But what you're not seeing about this person that is feeling this entitlement underneath that layer, when you're looking underneath and you're reading between the lines, the only reason that somebody is asking and acting entitled is because they actually feel powerless to create it for themselves. This is a really big thing, especially also with the millennial generation. It's a generation that I am a part of, that I am on the very tail end. I'm almost a part of the next generation, but as a part of the millennial generation, the reason people feel entitled, and a lot of society says that they are entitled, it's actually because these people have worked so hard and they've done what they've been told, and they, for example, have gone to school and they were told that everything was going to be fine. Yet once they got out of college, they ended up with massive student debt and then couldn't get a job afterwards in the field that they studied. You get these people that were essentially screwed over, and then they can't change their lives. And then you have the baby boomer generation, and they're trying to compete with them to get a better paying job, and they can't do it because all these other people have way better experience. You have these people that have put so much effort into things and nothing has come of it. So then people think they feel entitled when they're asking for more, and then your society looks at them like, why are you even asking for that? Because they haven't earned it. But if you're looking at it, the entitlement, what does it really come from? It comes from this person feeling like no matter what they do, they can't seem to create what they want. They can't seem to accomplish their goals. It's a state of powerlessness. And when you understand that really you're looking at a person that is in a state of powerlessness because they're asking somebody else for what they want, that person does not actually have the self-esteem and confidence to believe that they can create it on their own. Now, this is entirely separate from a genuine confidence. When you're, for example, if you believe that you can accomplish your goals, sometimes you're going to have to go out and ask people to help you meet your needs directly. And if that comes from a healthy perspective, that's totally okay. But when it seems to come from an unhealthy perspective of entitlement, that's really just somebody trying to defend themselves and not get taken advantage of. Unless it can be, in other situations, at least in the millennial workforce generation, that's what I mean. It's somebody not trying to get taken advantage of, but in other situations, If it's coming from a healthy place, it's a good thing to go after your go after your needs directly. But in this situation, this entitlement truly is a state of powerlessness. And that is what entitlement comes from. And that is why the golden child not only becomes that way, but then also seems to feel entitled, is that state of powerlessness. The last thing that I want to close this off with is that even these people, when they're in this state of powerlessness and they're the golden child, there is one benefit to it. And it's that at least they have the courage to ask. It's a better improvement from the scapegoat child that does not have any confidence to ask for what they want. At least these people are willing to ask. So it's not all bad, but it does make sense to understand why that state of powerlessness comes about. With that being said, I hope that you enjoy the video. Just remember, try to meet your needs directly. You know, that's always going to be a good thing. And these people that feel totally despondent and powerless, hopefully we can be a light onto their life to help them, you know, feel better and whatnot, and overcome their challenges and to heal and grow. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you like the content, hit subscribe, and please consider supporting me as a creator on Patreon so that I can do this channel full time. I'm asking you for help directly because I would love to do this channel. So subscribe to those. I appreciate it so much. Thank you.